This is DW News coming to you live from Berlin. A Super Tuesday for Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. The maverick Republican presidential candidate has won 5 Republican primary states and is looking to add more to his Super Tuesday tally. We'll hear from him in just a moment. On the Democratic side, Hillary Clinton's camp is having a good night too, picking up most states, including the crown jewel, Texas. It's time to crunch the numbers. I'm Sarah Harmon. Welcome to the program. The winners and losers are taking shape in the Super Tuesday sweepstakes, and there are a few surprises. Here's how it's unfolding at this hour. As expected, Donald Trump dominated the Republican race. He won 5 states, and he's placing second in the rest. Texas Senator Ted Cruz lays claim to the Lone Star State, the biggest prize of this multi-state contest. He's projected to win neighboring Oklahoma as well. You'll recall Cruz also won the Iowa caucuses a few weeks ago. As far as the Democrats, Hillary Clinton is the big winner, putting Texas, Oklahoma, Georgia, Tennessee, and several other states in her win column. Her rival, Bernie Sanders, won his home state of Vermont and is projected to eke out a surprise win in Oklahoma. He's vowed to remain in the race through all 50 states. Earlier, Donald Trump spoke at Palm Beach, Florida, addressing his supporters. Let's take a listen.
This has been an amazing evening. Already we've won 5 major states, and it looks like we could win 6 or 7 or 8 or 9. It's really been great. I want to congratulate Ted on the winning of Texas. He worked hard on it, and I know how hard he worked, actually. And so I congratulate Ted Cruz on that win. That was an excellent win. We're going to make America great again, folks. We're going to make it great again.
Well, what does all this mean? We've got 2 experts here to give us some analysis. I'm joined now by Charlotte Potts, a journalist and an expert on the Tea Party. And joining us live from Houston, Texas, is our very own Richard Walker. He's live there from Houston. Welcome to both of you. Charlotte, I want to start with you. Trump is doing amazingly. 6 months ago, I don't think any of us would have predicted this. How do you explain the Trump phenomenon?
Yeah, he really is a political phenomenon. There are several reasons. I've talked to voters last year and this year several weeks ago, and they've been telling me that they like him because he's so authentic. He says it how it is. That was what they've been telling me. They also like him because he's such a successful businessman, or allegedly a successful businessman. So they think that he can really revamp the country and kind of restructure it in the right way. And they also like him because he's so rich. They say he's so rich as a billionaire that he can't be bought, and they are fed up with corruption in their country. So those are the ingredients that really make him successful.
It's been a good night for Trump, but, maybe not as good as it could be. Richard, Ted Cruz took 2 states, Texas. He's now also predicted to take Oklahoma. Is Ted Cruz still in the race?
But in the infinite wisdom of Fox News and CNN, as they have made it their practice, they are continuing with the bloviating buffoon billionaire.
Is Ted Cruz still in the race, Richard, after winning Oklahoma and Texas, according to predictions?
To come out and talk to you, and as soon as he is able, in just a few moments,
definitely a good night, Sarah, for Ted Cruz after what's looking like a very, very strong win here in Texas, and that surprise result in Oklahoma. He'd been polling well behind Donald Trump in Oklahoma over the last few weeks, so very happy with that result. And here there's a very good mood after a pretty strong sense of uncertainty earlier in the evening, a very buoyant mood among Ted Cruz's supporters. He's expected to be speaking any moment now, but Donald Trump's press conference in Florida is still going on. Donald Trump rambling on, I think, to some extent, probably a little bit of mischief in there. He probably wants to delay Ted Cruz's speech, but supporters here have been assured that he will be taken to the stage pretty soon.
We can certainly see a lot of excitement behind you. It is very loud. Charlotte, let's talk about the guy on the Republican side who is not having a very good night. Marco Rubio, of course. We've got a soundbite from him speaking earlier. Sounds like he's not giving up. Take a listen.
These are indeed difficult times, and many people are struggling. I know many of you are struggling. Do not give in to the fear. Do not give in to anger. Do not give in to sham artists and con artists who try to take advantage of your suffering and your hardships. Instead, believe, as we always have as a nation and as a people, that if we do what needs to be done, America's greatest days are always yet to come.
What do you think? Is it time for Marco Rubio to sit out and give the race over to Ted Cruz and Donald Trump, or has he still got some fight left?
Well, he's got some fight left, but it would probably be smarter to just stop at this point. He has not won any of the states. He's came out second or third or fourth in some of the states, and he really has not gained momentum. Though the Republican establishment would have liked to seen him as a candidate, so we will have to see how he deals with it. He will certainly wait for his home state for the primary on March 15th in Florida. He's hoping to win that. But if that would turn the race around for him, that is very unclear at this point.
Well, let's shift over here and talk a little bit about the Democratic race. Clinton was once seen as all but inevitable. Everyone thought she was going to be the nominee. And then she got a bit of a last-minute upset from Bernie Sanders. And a lot of people said that pushed her to the left. After all, Bernie Sanders is a socialist. I want you to listen to this clip, and then we'll talk about it. Here's Hillary Clinton speaking earlier in Florida.
Thank you all so much. What a Super Tuesday. You know, all across our country today, Democrats voted to break down barriers so we can all rise together. And I am so delighted to be here with you in Florida.
What do you think? Is she the inevitable nominee, or has Bernie Sanders still got, a fighting chance here?
Well, she's certainly happy tonight. You can see that in her rhetoric tonight. She is most likely going to be the Democratic nominee. Sanders came very close. He won New Hampshire. He came very close in Iowa, and that was troubling for Hillary at first, but they've really shifted their campaign in looking forward to the general election and looking forward how they can win against Trump. And how you mentioned, she certainly moved on the left on some issues. Bernie Sanders has wanting to raise the minimum wage, for example, make student loans more affordable. And Hillary Clinton is certainly tapping into that and portraying herself as somebody who is a fighter for the working class.
Bernie Sanders is not having a bad night, though. I mean, it's a great night for Clinton, but Bernie Sanders took his own state of Vermont. He may be going to take Oklahoma if these predictions come out. That's sort of surprising. Let's take a listen now to what Bernie Sanders has to say for himself.
At the end of tonight, 15 states will have voted, 35 states remain. And let me assure you that we are going to take our fight for economic justice, for social justice, for environmental sanity, for a world of peace to every one of those states.
Well, as Bernie Sanders says, 35 states remain. Let's check back in with Richard Walker there in Houston. Richard Walker, 35 states left to go. How many of them does Ted Cruz have to win to still have a shot at the White House?
Well, good question, Sarah. A lot of people wonder whether he has a real shot at the White House at all. And that's a great dilemma for the Republican Party that they're faced with after tonight. I mean, it's been a very good night for Donald Trump, but it's also been a pretty good night for Ted Cruz. And even Marco Rubio can find some crumbs of comfort, for instance, in his decent performance in Virginia. So everyone stays in the race. John Kasich and Ben Carson also don't look like they're interested at all in dropping out. So this race remains fragmented in the weeks ahead. We have primaries coming up on the 5th and 8th of March, and then a big night on the 15th of March in Florida. And it does look like no candidate is likely to drop out until the results of those 15th of March primaries come in. But whether that means that anyone apart from Donald Trump really has a path to the nomination at the moment if it remains this fragmented.
I want to go to our Tea Party expert here. 5 candidates at this stage in the Republican primary. That's weird. What's going on? Why won't someone drop out?
Well, we started out with a dozen or even more, so it looks actually very little at this point. It was a big surprise that Jeb Bush already dropped out. He was clearly the front runner. They all think they have a shot at the nomination. Their strategists and their pollsters keep telling them that they can do it, that they should just stick to the race. So they are hoping for some kind of switch in the race. I think most likely the more states will come in, the more people we will see drop out. As Richard said, March 15th is the next date we have to look forward to.
And is it just political egos talking, or do all 5 of them actually in some sense, have a shot at the nomination?
I think some of them just truly want to make a point, like John Kasich from Ohio. He wants to show that there's also some kind of moderate streak still to the Republican Party that focuses on strong economics and not just populist rhetoric like Trump and Ted Cruz are using at this point. Marco Rubio also appeals more to the middle, so they really want to make sure that there are different voices within this primary season.
We've had a lot of interesting voices in the Republican primary. You study the Tea Party, you're an expert on these matters. What do you attribute that to? First of all, Trump's popularity, but also, someone like Ted Cruz, who has no friends in the Senate and no friends in the Republican Party. He's a strong second.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of political outsiders in this race. That was Carly Fiorina to start out with, and Ben Carson, the neurosurgeon, and then we have Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz, who are really first-time senators being elected in 2013. Trump, of course, a total political outsider. So it's a lot of frustration within the electorate that has been growing since the Tea Party came into place in 2009, and this really shows in this election that people are fed up with the political system, with corruption in Congress, and they just want somebody to clean up.
People are fed up. You're saying, well, Richard Walker, you've been on the campaign trail for months talking to voters. Are you feeling that sense of frustration that Charlotte's describing?
Who's going to be the next president of the United States? Wait a minute. I want them to hear it in the studios at Fox.
Richard, you've been on the campaign trail for months. Are you feeling that same sense of frustration among voters that Charlotte described?
Knows that one candidate.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think frustration among the voters is probably the dominant emotion that's been driving an awful lot of this campaign. And on both sides of the ideological divide, people supporting the outsiders on both sides, both Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump. Both are frustrated, obviously with different things to some extent. On the conservative side, more with a sense that America is in decline. On the left-wing side, more with a sense that America is becoming increasingly unfair. The people here at the Ted Cruz rally, they also have a sense of frustration. They're frustrated that America is not following the Constitution, that Barack Obama has been resorting to executive action rather than using Congress to get things done in Washington. So also, this is a candidacy, Ted Cruz's, that was also trying to tap into that sense of frustration that is so important here. We're about to hear from Ted Cruz. He's about to take to the stage. We'll be waiting for a long time while Donald Trump was giving his press conference.
Indeed, and Richard, we're going to have to wait a little longer because I'm afraid we're running out of time. Richard Walker live in Houston. Thank you so much, Charlotte Potts, here in the studio. It's been a pleasure having you both. Before we let you go, I want to crunch the numbers one more time in the U.S. Super Tuesday presidential sweepstakes. With polls closed in 9 states, Republican Donald Trump has almost swept the board. He's won 5 states, just lost in 2. The outlier, Texas Senator Ted Cruz. He's laying claim to both the Lone Star State and apparently Oklahoma. Now, Texas is the biggest prize of the night. You'll recall Ted Cruz. He also won the Iowa caucuses a few weeks ago. As far as the Democrats go, Hillary Clinton, the big winner, putting Texas, Oklahoma, Georgia, Tennessee, and several other states in her column. Her rival Bernie Sanders won Vermont and eked out a surprise in Oklahoma. That's Super Tuesday. This is DW News. I'm Sarah Harmon. I'll see you in 45 minutes.